In progress.
Okay, is that everyone in, Louise, that is waiting?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a start, and if Councillor Henderson can join, that's great. So it feels a long time since we've been here on this meeting. So
Yes.
good evening, everyone. Start off with questions from members of the public. Is there any questions at all this evening? Doesn't sound like it. Well, I mean, if there is anything and you've missed it, then just pop it in the chat and we'll come back to that. Okay. So we'll head on to the first agenda item. I think I need to hand over to the town clerk on this one.
Thanks. Have we got any nominations for the chair? Councillor Thomas?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Williams, please.
Is there a seconder?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Are there any other nominations? No? So do you want just joining us? So you, Councillor Henderson, we've just had a proposer and a seconder for Councillor. Hello. Councillor Henderson, can you hear?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I'm fine.
We've just had a proposer and seconder for Councillor Williams to be chair.
Yeah, happy with that.
Yep. So
Yep.
I'll call for a vote.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Over to you, Councillor.
Thank you very much. Thank
Williams.
you, everyone. We move on to electing the vice chair of this group. I'd personally like to propose Councillor Perkin again. I know she's not in this meeting, and I assume that's still fine to do that. She did express her interest in doing it again, so that would be a proposal from me. Would anyone like to second that at all? Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Is there any other nominations at all for vice chair of this group? Would everyone like to vote on that?
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. Brilliant. We'll move on to apologies for absence.
I think I just saw a message.
Just from Councillor Perkin.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Councillor Barker's not on this committee.
Oh. Sorry,
I think that was from an earlier meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets confusing.
It does.
Brilliant. Thank you. Can we move on to declarations of interest? Is there anything anyone would like to declare items on the agenda at all? No? Brilliant. Okay, that's good. Okay, if we move on to the minutes and of the previous meeting to matters arising. So it was a little while ago. It was 8th of March, I think was our last meeting. Has everyone seen the minutes? I've got a copy of the minutes.
Yeah, but I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Is there anything for those that were there? Is there anything that you would like to raise or you think that might be incorrect from the minutes?
I think it's fine.
Councillor Thomas.
Are you covering an update regarding the bus shelter roofs?
Yes, yeah, I can do that, absolutely.
Lovely.
So in terms of that, we've had confirmation that the order that we put in has been confirmed on the basis that they're still working on the same lead time as that they gave us before, which was quite a long time. I think if I'm right to say in Town Clerk, it's 40 weeks or something quite extensive. Although they are saying that I think things are sort of speeding up a bit. So I think current estimates is that it will be probably towards the latter part of the year, unfortunately. But we have received confirmation. Is there anything I've missed, Town Clerk, on that? Because they do seem to be quite slow on getting back to us. It's been quite frustrating.
If it were 40 weeks, Chris, could we that would be
Yep, they are fairly slow.
February time. Could we actually do it in January, February?
Well, I think we that the well, in theory, I suppose we have to kind of bear with what they can do. But I think the initial problem was when we first. I mean, admittedly, the 40-week lead time was when we first was talking to them quite a while ago, and that was at a time when we were still in lockdown, and it was there was issues around kind of post-Brexit, etc. So I think things are kind of getting a bit stabilizing a bit, so it may be quicker than that. I think we're going to have to keep pushing them, I think, but they have confirmed the order at last, which is good.
Yeah,
so
but the point I'm making, Chris, is if we're going to have a green roof,
yeah.
Could you install a green roof in February?
Oh, I see what you're saying. My assumption is yes. I think they can install it any time of the year. There's been no indication that from them that they have to do it at a certain time. And from what I've understood, I don't think it makes too much of a difference, because the way they install them are kind of done in a way that obviously they survive through all seasons. So it's not ideal. It'd be nice if it was done in a more better time of the year. So yeah, Town Clerk, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me or whether I'm having trouble with my internet. Can you
No,
hear me
you
all right?
Can do now, yeah.
Here, yeah.
Oh, you're frozen again.
Okay,
I'll try.
because I just wanted to give a brief update because I am applying. I'm frozen again. I'll tell you what. Let's.
Yes. Have a
I might
picture. That's better.
I might be better without my camera. Is
Yeah.
that better?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
No.
Right. It's no. KCC have got additional funding for bus shelters, which I am going to apply for because we've already got funding from Councillor Hook's KCC members grant. That's one of the requirements, is to help survey to the residents and businesses that are in the area of the two bus shelters. And I'm hoping to get, well, the deadline's the 23rd of July, so I'll be getting that off and to 4,000 for each bus shelter. So if we can get that funding, that will just help our own budget, that we can spend the money on something else. And in relation to that, I had to get approval from the bus company, which is Stagecoach, and they have pointed out Stone Street bus. So they have take this opportunity to, yeah, so I don't know if you heard me because my screen froze, but basically the Stone Street one, Stone Street isn't DDA compliant, it's facing the wrong way. So Stagecoach have asked that they are supportive of the living roofs, but could we make sure it's positioned in the correct way, and company and Mike Knowles with that information. And I've actually received an email from James Francis today confirming and acknowledging that, to make sure that the right way.
Okay.
Hopefully you've got some of that.
Some of that.
Yeah, thank you. I think
Yeah.
I think it's essentially so that the bus shelter on Stone Street needs to be facing the way that's suitable for what Stagecoach requirements are, and that Clear Channel are quite happy with doing that. I think is that in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I think Councillor Thomas, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, should the bus shelter be facing the road then? I'm trying to remember which way around the Stone Street one is.
The opening should be out to the street. So basically, the closed bit on the curb, and it should be the other way.
I just wanted to ask if that can be checked, because at one point there were residents asking for the bus shelter on Bisingwood Road to be turned the other way around so they didn't get sprayed with rain while they were sitting waiting for buses.
Yeah, but the bus company refused to do that.
All right. So it's the Disability Act, is it, or something? DDA?
Well, I don't think
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
Disability Act. I think it is a bus company protocol.
The town clerk said she'll send an email around with it so we can have a look at that.
Thank you.
I think broadly speaking, what between all the information there, so the Mall shelter is sort of what the position and kind of where it is that is going to be where it is, the new one, and the Stone Street one will just be positioned correctly, and Clear Channel are on board with that, so that's good. I think the thing is with it, there's a lot of people involved in this, but luckily all the people that should be involved are talking together, which is good.
Chair,
yes.
Can I just recommend though that when this bus shelter gets changed, it's stressed that it is on direction of Stagecoach and not the town council?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's a good idea.
Because I think we're going to get complaints about it.
I think yes, I agree. I think if that's the sort of the requirement, then yeah, we need to make that very clear. And my understanding is what the town clerk said, that some letters have gone out to residents that live that it will affect, kind of lives in that area. That might be, I know multiple people could use the bus stop, but there's people that are in the local vicinity that are more likely to. So that's good. Is there anything else on the bus shelters? I think with the town clerk's information being emailed around, that will help, because we can see it in black and white. I think it's quite difficult with the internet connections to fully understand the details. I think there was one other thing. Let's look. I just wanted to update something on the youth climate panel, because that was on the minutes of the last meeting. So I am working with Brooke with this to make sure that we kind of put something in place that's kind of ready, and there's a structure to it based on the original paper or visual proposal, but so that although there's been initial conversations with the schools broadly interested to make sure that it's done in a structured way. I think the aim is to try and look to do it in the new school year, which will be in September. So partly because obviously it's not been exactly plain sailing for schools this year either. And we're very close to the summer holidays. So it's something that is being looked at. And obviously with a crossover between this group and the youth working group, there's conversations about that, so it's just a little update on there. Anything else from the minutes at all?
No.
Okay, I'd like to propose. Oh yeah, Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to commend you for your seed giveaway. You've been a leader across the borough. the borough council picked up on that as well.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. I hear from people that they enjoy it and kind of
They did.
process. Unfortunately, I wasn't involved as we did with the tree giveaway because of Purda and various other things. So, no, thank you for that. It was good.
Had a great response to it. It was great.
I think the biggest comment I got was saying that they thought I had a bag full of chickpeas, but I did assure them that it was seed balls.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you. So I'd like to propose if we accept the minutes, please. Would anyone like to second that? Okay, Councillor Thomas, is that?
Yeah, I'd like to second. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we all vote on that, please? To accept the minutes. Brilliant, thank you. Okay. Thank you. So yeah. Can I just check? Is the town clerk still with the meeting?
I am.
Oh, good. I don't want to progress and then got halfway through the meeting and you're not.
Just dropping out. Yeah.
No, I can hear everything. Hopefully, you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right. Let's go back to the agenda. So, item number 5, terms of reference. To review the terms of reference. Now, within the pack of documents for this meeting, there was the terms of reference for working groups, the general terms of reference. Now, I think, if I'm right in saying, Town Clerk, I think we've adopted these before for this group. But I'm assuming that we're looking to use a sort of these working parties general working group terms of reference for this group, or would you like us to generate new terms of reference as we're now a working group?
I don't think we've ever actually had proper terms of reference because we've used the action plan as our terms of reference. So that's why I've included for working groups, because obviously we need to be mindful that you can't make any decisions. We can only make recommendations. So I think we need a combination of exactly what the outcomes for this group should be.
Okay.
And then I can work it together into the general working group. But what are our main points that this group wants to achieve?
Okay, yeah, Councillor Henderson, I'll let you come first.
Can I suggest that we have a very simple general statement of terms of reference that this group may and should make recommendations in relation to reducing climate change and increasing biodiversity, full stop. So that we are clear that that's what we're really here for.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think yeah, Councillor Henderson, I agree with what you're saying. I think we have had a bit of a combination of, well, the action plan has been basically broadly taken from the climate emergency declaration, which of course is valid and current. The action plan we've currently got is this current year's 2020-2021, and I think it's important, as you say, that we have the correct information from the general terms of reference that recognise the core commitment of this group, with the added action plan points, which we can review as it's sort of working document. I don't know, does anyone else have any other additional thoughts?
Well, can I just come back on the action plan, if I may, Chris? Because the Policy and Resources Committee has appointed a working party, I guess it is, to as it were, represent the action plan. So we could have a simple statement that this subgroup should work on all biodiversity and climate change points within this is the general Town Council action plan, and should work on the action plan for the biodiversity and climate change emergency.
Yeah.
But we don't want to narrow our view down. That's why I was saying that we should make recommendations which improve climate change and biodiversity.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
I understand.
we have a fairly general ability to do things, and you might like to add that we may make recommendations for expenditure.
Recommendations, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand, Councillor Henderson. Yeah, fully. Councillor Thomas.
I think what Councillor Henderson says is very relevant, because actually by focusing on biodiversity as well as climate change, or having them run in parallel with each other, biodiversity does actually reduce the carbon emissions. So therefore we are fulfilling our climate emergency aim of reducing carbon emissions by improving biodiversity. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the fact that we declared a climate and biodiversity emergency is very relevant for that as well. I mean, clearly we take all the points discussed in this meeting together, and I think what will be really useful is to collate what we discussed tonight into a document that we can then approve, or it can be, I'm assuming we can do the next meeting just to kind of agree, or because I mean clearly we're not going to get it all fleshed out tonight, but I think I'm fully happy with what's been said. I don't know, Town Clerk, if you've got that information.
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Thank you. So is it the case that we can bring it to the next group meeting, or does it need to go?
Well, if you prefer, I can draft something based on what's just been discussed, send it round by email, and if you're all happy, we can then present it to the Town Council at the next meeting, or otherwise we're going to miss a month.
Yeah.
So
sure.
If we
that would be best.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If we agree, I'll draft it by email, and then you agree.
Chris, at the risk of being boring, I think the very fact that this Town Council declared a climate change and biodiversity emergency is really important, because we have been far more positive on biodiversity than the Borough Council has. And if, as I understand, friend Tim Valentine is going to be back as cabinet member for this, then I've argued for 3 years with him about biodiversity, and frankly, he's not interested. So we have to be.
Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with that. I think we have gone. I mean, biodiversity in particularly locally is a lot easier for us to involve ourselves and do a lot about, because we can, like the community gardening, like planters, like all the kind of changes to it that we're making. It's a very tangible thing we can do, and I think it's very important that it is on the level footing with climate change. And as Councillor Thomas says, it's a very important part of reducing our carbon emissions. So I think, yeah, absolutely, it should be a core focus of the document. And the other thing actually to highlight, and I know it's in the general terms, is about being able to work with community members that can come and work within this group as time goes on, because there will be people, in fact there are people that we work with in the community and people with expertise that will be crucial for helping us achieve the various actions and goals that we've got. So I think it's important that we have that in there to make sure that we can do that as and when needed, unless anyone disagrees.
I think a sentence on working with the community would be really valuable.
Absolutely.
Because I think the benefit of becoming a working group is actually that we can be more community. Well, we are. I would like to think we're community focused anyway, but we can be more community focused. We can bring more people into the general discussion and the meetings itself, rather than just observe. And I think that's really important. And there are people that have expressed interest in that, which is really good. Does anyone else have anything else that they crucially think needs to be flagged up right this moment in terms of share? Councillor Henderson.
Just one point in connection with that working with the community. Perhaps we should have a line in the terms of reference that we may appoint members of the community to the working group. Whether that's a particular number or whether we can invite as many as we like, I don't much mind, but it should be clear that we can do that.
Yeah, I think on the general terms of reference, it says that under the membership bit, it says unless otherwise stated, the working group will be made up of a cross section of the community, including town councillors. And I think to make sure that button, the membership is included like that, as you say, is really important. So is there anything else on terms of reference?
Do we want to specify in those terms, in the terms of reference coming to the 5th of July town council meeting, any individuals that we want to invite onto the group?
Sorry, carry on.
I think we've got that discussed coming up on the agenda, haven't we? About
sorry.
Yeah, well, we've got we can reserve it for that. But I mean, clearly, in the meantime, with the email going round, I think if there's anything that's been comes to mind in the meantime, or obviously people then keep it in mind. Definitely, it doesn't have to be finished at this meeting. So. Well, can I propose then that we await the town clerk's email with regards to a draft terms of reference. We have a look and make comment, and then all being well, we take it to full council next month.
Yes, I second that.
Thank you.
Great.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. Right. Okay, so I'm just going to turn my light on. That's better. So item 6 is a working group structure. So essentially what I've done here is, this isn't an exhaustive list, but I've basically broken down the key points of things we tend to work on under this to essentially try and sort of spread the workload amongst the group, but this will include those that might come into or come onto the group in the future as co-option. Pure reason for this is that, so I was having a discussion with the town clerk about the fact we're very ambitious and we do a lot, and I think what we've done with regards to the climate and biodiversity emerging has been brilliant. But we're at a time now where my own fault, but I tend to shoulder a lot of stuff because it's something that I've kind of been very passionate about. But it'd be really great for us to look at the different points and sort of see where we can spread the kind of focus. So members of this group have a focus of something that they can take forward and report back to the group regularly. It doesn't mean to say that it's going to be something that's going to be an immense amount of workload. I think it's about if there's a particular thing that either been working on or you find that would be beneficial to you to work on, then I think it would be really good to do that. Clearly as well, we don't have to decide every single point this evening, but it'd be quite good to get an idea what people's thoughts are on it. So what I'll do is I'll just run through them briefly and just explain. I mean, most of them probably are quite self-explanatory, but just to go through and explain what that really entails, and then we can sort of a discussion about what you all think on what we do. So just going to so I've mentioned so at the top there's pesticide-free towns. That's quite a big area. Obviously we've got a 3-year action plan for pesticide-free town status, and it's something that's really important. It's something we've kind of expressed great interest in achieving. Obviously, when a lot of things come up with to do with chemical or pesticide use in the town, we reference this action plan, and I think it's now at a point where it is a big public concern, and I think it'll be good to have a sort of focus on it. Now, I have had an expression from Councillor Perkin that she'd be quite happy to take that on. And unless anyone feels that they've, I mean, clearly it doesn't have to be one person, but I think it's just if people have a sort of a focus, it's quite useful. So I don't know if anyone wants to, or has got particular interest in having a look at it and doing it, or whether we're quite happy for Councillor Perkin to do it. Yeah, Councillor Thomas.
Are we looking at the whole list?
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, sorry, I'll go through the list first. Sorry. So I've lost it now.
I was just going to say that I'd be happy to pick up on the litter picking, single-use plastic recycling one.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go through it all, and then we'll come back to it. I should have done it that way around. It'd probably be easier. So the next one's policy. And policy in this instance, I think, should be based around the more in-depth things about how we reach carbon neutrality, and some of the key things we need to do in order to get to that point, and the checks we need to go through, and anything around that. So whether it's looking at case studies, whether it's working with external people, whether it's whether we need to actually have external help and support. So it's anything around us reaching those ultimate goals. So, and that's quite an open thing. Biodiversity included. Yeah, Councillor Henderson.
Sorry, just sticking on that policy one. Can I either ask or request that there's something else needed in that policy area?
Yeah.
And that is we know essentially on climate change that we're measuring progress towards carbon neutrality, and that's a pretty well established science. The thing which worries me, and you will hear me say again and again and again, that biodiversity is at least as important as climate change. And it worries me that there is no measure of improving or damaging biodiversity. And I think as part of our policy, we should develop measures where we can say, whoopee, we've increased biodiversity in Faversham by 10% over Sittingbourne or Maidstone or Ashford or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there's a really important issue of biodiversity policy as well as climate change policy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the policy one's quite open really, because it's really about us focusing on getting to that end goal, but also how we're performing and whether we're doing things correctly. And particularly the figures and the percentage increase and things we're doing is important. I think with all of these things, before I move on, is just to say that I'm not expecting us to sort of go through the fine tooth comb every single item, because there's clearly going to be things like, we know the pesticide-free towns, there's a document attached to that. Some things like policy is quite open, and to be honest, it's not something we've really focused on that as a subject. We've kind of done it amongst talking about everything else, and I think anyone that's interested in these particular subject headings that wants to sort of manage that area or use it or go away and think about things, we're quite happy to have conversations outside the meeting to define the things we need to do, look at policy, and those things that need to be under biodiversity, for example, because we otherwise it's too complex to go through probably in a fairly short meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I assume. Sorry.
Yes, carry on. Yeah. Councillor Henderson, you carry on.
I assume as chair of the group, Chris, that you would want to be very much involved in policy, and certainly I'd be very happy to work on that. I have quite a lot of good contacts in areas where we might get information, so I'm happy to put my name down there.
Okay, thank you. I think the thing is with it is it's as I said before. I mean, I've been too sort of protective maybe of the whole subject of climate biodiversity, purely because it's the thing that I was most passionate to do when became a councillor. However, it gets to a point where things will be chipped away slowly on each thing rather than substantially making progress. And we have made progress, but I think we can kind of up it a bit by just having a bit for various people having focuses. Obviously, working with myself and working collaboratively and with other people that are not in this meeting currently but might do so. So it might be that, you know, in each subject area there's people that you know that could be right. That person's very good at biodiversity. That person's got a lot of expertise or is doing a lot of work already on various policy things or would be good. So it's a case of really having people on board that can help us achieve that, not being isolated, because we're a fairly small working group with quite a big remit. So I'll just go through the others and then we can biodiversity, including wilder towns and community gardening. The reason I'm going to say them together is because I think that's probably something that's quite linked. Obviously, you've got community gardening projects, which we're doing, which actually we're talking about on the agenda, just an update anyway. But that obviously has that act and those projects alone are increasing or actively trying to increase biodiversity in the town. Biodiversity, obviously, as a subject heading is quite a broad thing to say, and that's why I put wilder towns with it, because the work we've been doing with Kent Wildlife Trust has been very important. Again, there's an update in the meeting later on the agenda, but I think community gardening and biodiversity perhaps is something that should clearly be very linked, but I put them as two separate ones just because they're two projects we've been working on. And then I'll just go through the last three, and then we'll come back and debate various things if that's okay. So at litter picking, single-use plastic and recycling, doesn't have to be named like that, but I've just put those things together because they're within our action plan. Youth, and then plant-based diets. Plant-based diets has not been a big focus, but because it's on our action plan. And the same with youth. I think it's important that they're mentioned. So again, it's not there could be other things that need to be on there, but those are the key ones I've picked out. Yeah, Councillor Henderson.
Please don't ask me to take plant-based diets on.
No, mate.
I have not the slightest interest in plant-based diets, but I would be very happy to take on the biodiversity bit. I'd need your advice on how much work there is on the wilder towns and community gardening, but certainly looking at biodiversity, seeing what we can do to educate people to take actions which actually improve something, whether it be bees or hoverflies or birds or plants or wolves or lynx or whatever. I think that's a real crucial issue, and I'd be very happy either to work on it or to lead on it or whatever.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Thank you for that. So I've gone through the others there. Councillor Thomas, you mentioned about sort of recycling and plastics. Is that something? I mean, I know that's something you work on at the borough level, and
that's why I think I should do that, because it's what do you call it? One of my focus areas, or that I do at the borough. So it makes sense on covering it here as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I know we've done litter picks organised quite recently, but the single-use plastic and recycling is something that we do talk about, but we don't always get round to doing anything substantial in terms of this group. Obviously, things do happen, of course. So I think it will be just mainly so that those that have got an interest or particular focus on that area can come back and report back anything that we're working on. So we've got this kind of running report of what's going on, rather than hearing my voice the whole meeting talking about the various things that have been going on. And it'd be good to get that dynamics. As I say, speaking to Councillor Perkin, she is quite happy to look at pesticide-free towns. And I think she's also expressed an interest in the plant-based diets, which kind of makes sense. But again, that's not exactly a big area, but it is part of our action plan. On a personal level, I mean, obviously, I want to support everyone, and I think it'd be good we all work together anyway. But I'm with the community gardening, something that been taken forward, and I'm working with the youth climate panel, so I'm quite happy to continue with that. And there is a bit, as I say, a crossover with the youth working group, which is fine. So we don't have to make any radical decisions tonight, but I think it was just quite useful to kind of put it out there as a kind of, these are the things we need to look at, and it's good to get an idea of those things. Is there anything, Councillor Reynolds, that you?
Yeah, I'd like to assist maybe yourself with the youth. Yeah, I'd like to come on board with that.
That's good, thank you. Well, I think there's a couple of items coming up about Wilder Towns and Community Garden, which will answer Councillor Henderson's questions about some of the things that we're doing on those. So we can do that, but I think that was quite a useful exercise, and what we can do is, as I say, I think if I can, outside the meeting, I can go through some of the documents and things we've gone through, that if you're not sure what we need an update, rather than take up too much time in this meeting, particularly for yourself, Councillor Henderson, that hasn't been involved in the in-depth conversations previously, and then we can.
My phone's running down. I'm just going to disappear and find my charger.
Okay. Is there any, for the remaining people that's in the meeting, is there any questions on what I've just gone through there? I know it's quite a kind of a 10p tour of our action plan, but is there anything you think we've missed or you're not sure about? No. Okay.
I think you've covered it, Chris. I do.
I'll just should we wait for Councillor Henderson to come back before moving on to make sure he's got that?
Could I come in at this point? Sorry, Councillor Williams.
Yeah.
I thought also actually part of the working group structure and having the main area of focuses, actually you were going to invite other groups to come along. I was thinking like the single-use plastic, to actually ask Plastic Free, a representative from Plastic Free, if they wanted to be on the committee, and then they could provide an update. And similarly, community gardening, whether that's Ali Corbell or somebody else,
Yeah.
Because I still think that between you are still taking on quite a lot.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
maybe you need to think a little bit wider.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. Yeah, I failed to talk about that. I think you're correct in that. I mean, there are representatives of various groups in the town that we can approach to be part of this. I mean, it's important that we don't work sort of isolated from these groups anyway. For example, talking to Kent Wildlife Trust about the Wilder Towns scheme, biodiversity in general, they'd be quite keen and happy to, even if it wasn't every meeting, but they would know the dates of the meeting. They can come as a representative for that topic, which is useful because obviously they'll be able to talk in more depth. So that's good, and there are obviously others that do various other projects around the town that are relevant to the different subjects we've got here. So I suppose really what we should aim to do is hopefully by by the next meeting is to try and reach out to some of these people and start to get them on board. I mean, I don't know, Councillor Thomas, whether you've, through the borough work you've done, whether you've talked much with Plastic Free Faversham recently about anything, or I've got that connection with them.
No, I haven't, Chris. My main focus is recycling.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, the town clerk said about let's if we, agree who to approach, and that's a good idea. I think we should approach Plastic Free Faversham, as it's been mentioned. As I mentioned, Kent Wildlife Trust. There's a specific contact which I can give to the town clerk. She's like, but to do with the Wilder Towns. I also think maybe Swale Friends of the Earth would be useful because they're doing a lot of the wilding projects. And that would help with the biodiversity work. Grace Couch, Swale Project Officer, yeah. I think that's a good idea. Councillor Thomas, have you got anyone you think, or Councillor Reynolds?
You could approach Jonathan Reason.
He's a swale officer, isn't he?
He seems to deal with trees in particular.
Yeah.
What was his name, Eddie?
John Reason.
Whedon.
Reason.
Oh, Reason. Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
I think Ali Corbell's a good idea from Swale and Bloom. So we can do that because she doesn't work on all the community gardening projects, but she's broadly aware through the Faversham in Bloom group. So that's a good idea. I mean, it's a bit of a conflict for me because I do sit on there as a representative of the town council and Faversham and Bloom anyway. But
several possibilities. Can I pick up, Chris? The first is would a link with the All Gunpowder Works be good, because they've got quite a lot of different biodiversity people. We've got a bat lady, we've got a reptile and amphibian person, we've got somebody who's pretty good on plants, so that's a possibility. Second, on the question of biodiversity and policy, I think Matthew Hatchwell would be well worth contacting. And thirdly, really for Eddie's bit on the litter picking front, we've got a local supporter who's getting very involved in that sort of immediately local litter picking, tidying up, rubbish bin type issues,
Mhm.
and I can put Eddie in touch with him.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's really good recommendations. Yeah, Councillor Thomas.
Following on from what Mike said, I was going to say the Lewis Munger, the Irish and Recreation Ground
Mhm.
Ranger, and also Ben Simon, the activities coordinator, because Ben Simon put together the tree trail around the wreck.
Yeah, it's a good idea. That's quite good as well, because we will start to hopefully talk about events that we might want to do in the future, and the recreation ground is a good location, so it'd be quite good for that as well. There are also individuals who do a lot of work in the town that don't necessarily represent groups, and I think it'd be good to. I don't want to list them. I can't think of listing them all off the top of the head now, but I can email them through. But I think it's important that we have representatives from groups and possibly people that are genuinely quite active, because, so for example, there may be somebody who's does a lot of community gardening, but is more based locally, who might be useful to be part of the group. Or it could be that they have a particular interest in the campaign against pesticide use, for example. Because
what about the allotment groups, Chris?
Yeah, we could do. I mean, there's no reason why not. I don't think. I mean, I know Adam's sort of our link between that the allotments in here, but I think there's no reason why we couldn't have particularly, well, any of the allotments really. I don't see why not. I mean, again, you know, the idea with these meetings is to hopefully hold them more regularly, but to be more fairly sort of shorter meetings where reports come back. So, for example, you know, if we're doing a pesticide-free report back, then those that are kind of involved in that will come back with some updates, rather than just, you know, going through things at too much in length, because then at least it kind of keeps, we're tracking the progress. It's easier to do that monthly, because things in theory could happen more rapidly if there's more people working on things.
And I think we have to recognise that all of these people we're talking about, some of them may be very happy and may contribute to meetings. Others may want to say, look, I really don't want to take my evening up with meetings, but I'm happy to talk to you, and I'm happy to, you know, correspond with you and work with you.
Yeah.
And it's two kind of different types of contact.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, we don't want to force any commitment on anyone, but the meeting dates and times will be published, you know, in advance, so people will know when they're coming. They can put them in their diary and come if they wish to. But if they are working on something and they're not at the meeting, they can always report something back via other means. But is there anyone else that anyone's got any ideas off the top of the head now? We can always feed anything back outside the meeting if we think of anyone, or if anyone approaches us to Louise, so we've got a central point of contact. Hopefully we can invite those people that are contacting, expressing interest to the next meeting, to hopefully start the contributions that way.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these people we've mentioned, I've already had brief sort of informal conversations with them. They're broadly interested, but I think they want to get a feel for what's involved before they commit to doing anything, which is fair. And some of them might just want to contribute to discussions and put their input, their knowledge into it, rather than, you know, be heavily involved. But some will want to be more heavily involved. So. Is there anything missed? Anyone think of anything's been missed crucially from that list of things? I know it doesn't really matter at this stage, but just if there's anything that's been nothing of focus. No. Okay.
That's main.
So if everyone's happy, if we take that forward for the time being, and then anyone else expresses an interest, we feed it back to the town clerk to collate that. Is that okay, Louise?
Yep, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Right. let's move on. Now I've put the Wilder Towns update on the agenda just purely because the last time we met was March. It just seems to be good to refresh where we are with it. There's not a huge amount to update. I did send a document that essentially laid out a number of things that we've been doing or been involved with as a council, as a group. And this was broadly part of the basis of how the Kent Wildlife Trust, who do the Wilder Towns scheme. It's a scheme that they're looking to. It's a number of things. You've got the Wilder Towns, they've got Wilder rivers, Wilder schools. There's all sorts of various parts to it, and essentially no town or city has been given that kind of accolade yet. And part of the reason was because they were trying to find a place that was doing enough to get some data to actually say, okay, we've got a case study here. Fortunate for Faversham, they think Faversham has done enough to become a Wilder town, but part of the predicament was, what's the criteria to become a Wilder town? And essentially they wanted to know, in a nutshell, some of the key things that we've been doing that kind of could constitute a criteria. Clearly they have their own points to put in as criteria, but so I just collated what we've discussed before in meetings and what we've been doing into something that they can see. They're putting together a criteria list, or I think it's a leaflet, but it's essentially kind of a criteria pack that would be the sort of thing that a town or city would aim towards, which hopefully we can see at some point in the future. Faversham, they want to give Faversham the status of Wilder town at some point this year, but they wanted to get the criteria first so they can show how we've got to that point. So it's really at the moment, it's at that stage of them finalising what the criteria is. It also gives us an indication of what we've done to, firstly, it's a celebration of what we've done so far to get to that point, but it also indicates things we might need to do further to contribute to get to that Wilder town. So we said we've got this Wilder town, how can we do more, and what do we need to do this more? So really that's the main update on that. And as I say, you can read the document, which is probably all things that you're familiar with broadly, because it's things that we've been doing. And I've included some community things in there as well, because that's important, because it's not just about us, it's about the community. Yeah. Has anyone got any questions about that? As I say, hopefully, if Kent Wildlife Trust, if the people responsible want to come to this meeting, then they can obviously update in a much more detailed way, which is really, really good. Future. Okay, well, I'll leave that as a kind of the update there then, and we'll hopefully, as I say, get more information next time. If I move on to community gardening. Again, I didn't do a document as such of this because there's not been a great deal. Well, there's been a couple of projects, but there's not been a great deal to report back. Some of the projects that we highlighted we want to do are ongoing. So I suppose a couple of updates is one is South Road. It's a successful community gardening day 2 weeks ago. It's a very hot day, I remember. I think it was the first real hot day we had, actually. It was typical that I picked that day.
Yeah.
Luckily, it rained a few days before, so the ground wasn't too bad. A number of the volunteers that came were people that had volunteered there in the past. Swale Borough Council were involved, Ali Corbell, Swale in Bloom. And those beds are looking really good now. So that's really good.
This is by West Street.
This is the two beds, one outside of the Faversham Vets and the other on the other side of the road outside Tassels.
Yeah.
So broadly speaking, it was weeding, and a lot of the plants have come back from last year or they're self-seeded, so it's looking pretty good. We also did obviously working in collaboration with the Public Spaces Group. We planted up the 4 planters that have gone around the town, again with some volunteers. That was again that was a good event, and I think they're looking good. I had a look at them all on my way home today. They're all the self-watering system seems to be working. The compost is nice and finished, and the plants seem to be doing okay, so that's good. And finally, Councillor Thomas and I had a meeting at Queen's Hall car park, because that's on our list of potential projects for volunteers just recently. So it looks very likely that there's going to be some improvements done to the car park to allow some planting opportunities in the future. That's all I can really say on that, because we only literally meeting a few days ago, but that there is some volunteers that are willing and waiting to want to do some planting in that area, so that's really good. There's clearly other things to do. There's Napleton Road. There's the Age UK bed, which is the bed round by by the back entrance to Age UK, sort of as a kind of opposite the bus stop on Crescent Road, essentially. That's got a permission to cultivate on it. So they'll be up and coming projects, but it's with most things, obviously trying to do them in a slow progression. We don't want to take on too many projects at once, because they've all got to, once they're planted, once they're cultivated, they've got to be maintained. So, and it's about the volunteers are very keen, but they don't want to be overwhelmed, clearly. And some areas we need to get more volunteers to do in certain areas. So there's some of the projects we've done, and there's some of the projects that have been identified between us and Swale in Bloom. Yeah, Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. Do we, the Town Council, keep a log or a record of the permissions to cultivate across Faversham, and who holds them and who looks after that little plot, just so it's coordinated somehow?
Yeah. Well, the permissions, the permission to cultivate on those are with Swale, or Faversham in Bloom comes Swale in Bloom. The South Road beds are historic permission to cultivates that lie with Swale Borough Council. Well, not they're KCC beds, but it's a Swale in Bloom team that have taken on the permission to cultivate. And the same with the Age UK beds, because that was a historic process that was going through before we got involved.
I just think that we should have a log of everything. At the moment, if I was to say to you who's looking after this bed, you don't always know.
No.
And I think as a town council we should know, in case you don't
Well,
want to.
Well, the log with the permission to cultivate is with Ali Corbell. I mean, clearly I can ask for copies of them, but
all it is, Chair, is that some of them are Swale, some of them are Kent, some of them could be something else. Shepherd Neame, for instance. I think we should have one log where everything's on it, so we got an overall picture. I don't. Well, personally, I don't like relying on someone else, because we do get asked these questions sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, unfortunately, with the South Road one, that was a bit of a kind of done the wrong way round, really. But it's just one of those things we had to do. I think having a sort of a map where we kind of code it somehow so we know what beds are what, and part of what project, because that's useful. It is complicated because the ownership of the piece of land could be one authority, the permission to cultivate could be with somebody else, and then the volunteers are with someone else, and that's just how it always seems to have been. But as long as we know that, I think it's important going forward. Clearly, if we identify a new piece of place we want to plant, or some of these beds where the permission to cultivate were put in place before we took over to community gardening, obviously we can't change that now. When they come up for renewal, we can look to put them into the town council's name, which will be easier. But we've sort of inherited some things like that. There is also the possibility with some of these pieces of land, if for example, it's a bed that's owned by KCC, for example, but we tend to do the volunteer coordination. We can apply to have those beds transferred over into the town council. There is a process that can do, and Councillor Hook was telling me about this. So there's lots of processes we can go. I think to do a map is useful, but some of them.
Sorry, I don't think we should change anything. I just think we should have a log, a record. That's all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just thought it useful to me to explain where some of them are already, because it's quite complicated.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
And I do think Eddie's point is a very valid one, because ignore the ones we've got already. There are opportunities for other permissions to cultivate. Optivo, for example, have quite a lot of bits of land here and there in the old council estates.
Yeah.
And you know, we might wish to approach them. The bund all along Front Brents, for example, is in the ownership of the town council, but the stewardship of the Environment Agency. And they would be pretty hacked off if we started planting stuff on their bund without actually talking to them and getting a letter saying you can do this, but you can't do that.
Yeah.
So I think just having a record as far as we can would be really useful.
Yeah, I think we're at a position where that is possible to do. I think to be honest, up to this point, I've just been up against it really to do things. So yeah, and I agree. I think we can take that forward. I think the town clerk's it's useful if we can get an initial map from Swale in Bloom, which is Ali, because they're the people that deal with a lot of these things for the borough council, and at the moment, basically that will be the map. That's the map we can work from, because we haven't got our own any of our own permissions to cultivate anything like that, so we don't have anything to start in there. Then we can look at other areas. I'm reluctant at the moment to take on too much more until we get a bigger volunteer base, and we want to get more people within this group that can help coordinate it, because it will become quite difficult. So it's really, we've been working on things that already exist at the moment rather than create too many new things. Which obviously the desire is to do more, but you know, there's been one or two people doing it and it's not been possible. So yeah, okay, if we can, if the town clerk's okay to do that, to get a map or get at least a list that we can then generate into a map, then if Brooke's okay to kind of keep that alongside the volunteer list, that would be useful. Is that okay, Louise?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. Was there anything else on community gardening? I don't want to sort of go through all the potentials that we could do, because that could just go on forever. But is there anything that anyone's unsure about what's already happened, or any of the projects that have happened so far? Okay, let's move on from that. We can come back to that next meeting. The next item on fast fashion, I think we will defer. Councillor Perkins asked me if we can defer that item, because she's working on a report or a proposal to come to a meeting, but it's not this meeting. So I think if we're all happy to agree to defer that item, that'd be easier.
Sorry, which item's that?
This is item 9, fast fashion.
All right.
I know she's doing a lot of work on it, but there's nothing to report at the moment. So, okay. Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Item 10 is educational films for wild explorers. So it's to discuss a proposal from Countrywide Productions looking for funding to continue educational films around biodiversity and nature. Now, I'm just going to find the document. So the outline of proposal from Countrywide Productions was sent with all the documents. And my understanding is that in the past the town council provided funding for some of these films. I don't know if he's contacted the town council in general, but he contacted me as chair of this group about these new films that he's producing, or they're producing, sorry, around different areas to do with nature for schools. To be honest, he was going to go in detail with it, but it's quite in depth, and it was easier for him to send this document for everyone to see, really. Now, where's the? I thought that document had the. I'm sure that document had the. He sent something to me about funding. So that's a bit weird. I sent that through. Something's gone wrong. Sorry, something's gone wrong with the document. There should have been another page. There's another page on the bottom of that document, seems to have gone, which had some. It had the overall figures that he had for the whole production, and he was asking for a contribution. Apologies, I don't know where that's gone. Bear with me a second.
If I can just come in at this point, I think previously the town council gave them £500.
Okay, thank you. I mean, they're not looking for full funding, obviously, because they're looking for different sources, and I think they've approached various organisations. But they've obviously come to us because I don't know what's happened. Something really weird has gone on with my documents. I can't understand. So yeah, Councillor Henderson.
Yeah, can I pick this one up? I hope there isn't anybody from the public listening in on this meeting. I am extremely concerned about Faversham Town Council getting involved with this. Okay. I've been involved with this project that Mike Maloney is running for probably the best part of 5 years.
Councillor Henderson, can I just say it is being recorded, and it will be on our YouTube tube. So
okay, well I'll have to be careful what I say then. I've been involved with this project for about 5 years, and I have to say, in all that time, I've had loads of conversations. I've seen several presentations. I haven't actually seen any material end up with schools. And so if we are to be involved with this, I would like the town council to learn what has been achieved already and what we are being contacted for in terms of a future commitment, because it's been a long-running project. I understand that quite a lot of money has been raised to do the work, but I've certainly not actually seen anything go out to the schools which are being used. Now, there may be lots of material out there, but I'd like to know where the project has got to before we were going to get any further commitment to it.
Okay, thank you. I'll take that on board. Councillor Thomas, I think you've got your hand up.
Oh yeah, thank you, Chair. I was just going to say, can you request from the gentleman feedback from people who saw his first production? I'd like to know what their thoughts were on that production.
Feedback.
Yeah, a bit of feedback before we make a decision.
Oh yeah. I think, to be honest, with the fact that something's gone wrong with, something's been really weird with the documents. I think it might be worth us requesting that, also re-requesting what he's actually looking for. I mean, personally, I don't really know. I met with the gentleman, and he showed me some early stages of films, and I sort of asked him to send this sort of outline. So I don't think there's anything we can make a recommendation on at this meeting, because we clearly need a bit more information. But the reason I put it on the agenda was just purely so I didn't want it to sort of go because it was requested. I didn't want it to sort of not us to gloss over it. I think what we do, maybe if I work with the town clerk, if everyone's happy to, that we request, or we send a request to the gentleman to ask for a bit more information, so we can discuss it in future meetings if there's any recommendation we want to make for any funding. Because I'm a bit unclear about what we could do anyway at the moment. But as I say, I didn't want to just not discuss it, because the gentleman had requested that. So should we leave it at that for now? Yeah. Okay. The next item is monthly newsletter. This was just an idea about a way of us communicating what we're doing, about to feedback what we're doing about the sorry, I've lost my trail of thought. There's noise in the background. This monthly newsletter was to feedback what we're doing in this group and with the climate emergency. Oh, I did send a draft version. Okay. So, Town Clerk, was that a draft version of a newsletter?
Yes, draft version of a newsletter sent by MailChimp. Now, I did that earlier this afternoon. Mine ended up in junk, so you might find it in your junk mail.
Oh, I'll have a look.
Okay, yeah, I have to see.
I didn't get that. Yeah.
I think essentially this came from two things. One was an impression that I've had, and I know other councillors have had, that they're not been aware of the various things we've done. I think that's important, because we've clearly, well, two things. We've made a lot of ambitious things we want to do, so we need to tell people we're doing it. But secondly, obviously, if we're spending money, it's good to show with good value for money. So I think it was bawdy to get a consensus whether everyone thinks it's a good idea to do this. Now I've obviously seen the draft of a kind of newsletter. How is everyone's thoughts on it? Everyone quite happy for us to progress with something like this? And it can be quite simply done in the sense of using the various reports that come back from the various activities we're doing, can be put into sort of little snippets of updates on the different things we're doing. And is this something, Town Clerk, that you're happy, or the officers are happy to do? I just want to.
Yes, I'm happy to do this, and I'm happy to write articles and also to receive them. I thought we could ask, like Plastic Free or other groups, if they wanted to make contributions. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. I think it's just getting that climate and biodiversity messaging out there. So, so if everyone's happy with that, we can progress with that. Yeah.
I do think, as far as possible there, Chris.
Yeah.
If we assume this is, let's say, a double-sided A4, it would be better to have 10 short stories on it with a contact point on each, rather than 3 big articles. Because it's just a very quick progress report, what's happening, what might you be interested in? Let's try and widen the circle of people.
Yeah.
So sort of
Yeah.
short
No,
and snappy.
I think that will be the general thing with it, and I think it's via email anyway, so it's not lots of printing.
Yeah.
Okay, I think there's not an awful lot else to say on that. We can look at that in the future, just review it. Okay. An allotment update. I haven't seen an allotment update, Town Clerk. Is it something Adams hasn't done, or?
Oh, sorry, I've just frozen, so I didn't hear the last of.
The last item. We just agreed to continue with to do the newsletter.
Dropped out.
I think Louise is frozen again.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't seen an allotment update either.
I don't think there is. I don't think there is one, but
No. Maybe that's in our junk mail as well.
Well, I haven't seen it. I think it's just the case there probably isn't one.
No.
Adam normally sends one if there's things to report. Oh, Louise has dropped out the meeting.
It could be on holiday this week. I don't know. Today.
I'll just wait a sec for Louise to come back into the meeting, and then.
It's not been a good evening for connection. Mike Ellsworthy, he had to drop out of the Paul's meeting before this, and his connection was dreadful. Dreadful. So it's probably to do with the climate. It's very muggy at the moment. I don't know what's causing it, but
It could be.
Yeah, storm brewing, I think, maybe. Something happened.
Well, don't worry. I mean, it's not a big issue, is it?
No. I think we could just email Louise and say we didn't have that allotment update. Yeah.
Well,
we are there really.
If I probably the best thing to do is maybe that the town clerk can't get back in, rather than just sit here and wait. If I make an executive decision, is there on the last item, items for the next agenda? Is there anything anyone wants to say now, or does everyone want to sort of come back in the meantime? If there's anything they want to add.
Sorry, I haven't got the agenda in front of me, Chris. What is the last item?
The last. I think we don't think we've got an allotment update.
No.
But the last item is items for next agenda. Items for the next meeting. So, Councillor Thomas.
I was just going to say maybe 2 weeks before the next meeting, or even 1 week before the next meeting. No, it have to be 2 weeks actually. Ask for items for the agenda.
Yeah, I've done that in the past. I think I'll start doing that again. Yeah, good idea.
When are we planning the next meeting, Chris?
The next meeting is, bear with me, I've got, Louise is back again now.
Oh, I found it, Chris. It's the 12th of July.
That's it, yeah. So it's basically, it's every month. It's almost around the same time every month.
That's fine. I'm back from holiday on the 5th.
I hope so.
Sorry, everybody. I'm back now.
That's okay. We sort of moved on because we wasn't sure whether we had an allotment update.
No, I haven't got an allotment update. I'm sorry, I missed that because I was off last week and Adam's off this week. So
that's fine. I assumed there was nothing too urgent, but we'll hopefully pick that up next month. And we was just discussing the items for the next agenda, and there wasn't anything raised. Councillor Thomas said about I'll send something out a couple of weeks before the meeting to see if there's any items.
Okay.
And that's where
I think it's the 5th of July, isn't it? Did we say?
Oh, 12th of July.
12th of July.
Right.
No, 12th.
12th. Okay. Because I think we've gone from bi-monthly to monthly now, haven't we?
Mm.
Yeah, I think the idea was to try and do sort of shorter monthly meetings rather than every, longer meetings. Apart from tonight, it's been a bit longer, but there's a lot to talk about. So I think that was it. I don't think there's anything else to discuss tonight. I think we're almost bang on time for the end of the meeting. Is that everyone okay? Yeah. Thanks for being with me. I feel like it was a bit of a struggle, this one, for some reason, but yeah. But
lots going on. Yeah.
We can pick everything up and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.